Hey there, this is Mrs. Grizzly coming to you from Grisly Manor. I thought that I would give you a little overview of my Halloween decorations this year and kind of talk to you a little bit about how I put this together and achieve the look for a whole house haunt. Coming to you from our entry here. What I want to establish first off is just a couple of ideas that I use on a pretty regular basis. I go for kind of a spooky slash elegant look rather than something that's very gory or super scary. You can see that I start off by using a lot of fabric here in the entryway, some curtains that I purchased on Facebook Marketplace. And this is a chest of drawers with just a board across the top of it to lengthen it and make it fit in an archway that we have. There is a table runner that I purchased at a garage sale for probably about $10. And then I have our ghost book, little signage, an actual Halloween prop, and one of these scary hands that I've bought a lot of at Michael's on sale and use all over the place. So this is the entrance for the haunt that we did this year. The theme was a retirement home, a spooky retirement home. So it's the tombs at Grisly Manor. You can see I use a lot of items that are not necessarily strictly Halloween. And I also use a lot of fabric. And then I incorporate some Halloween decorations into the overall look. But if you look here, you'll see that I have a lot of things like these candelabras, which are not necessarily Halloween. I use them all year round with different color candles. Best garage sale find ever. They came with a really ornate clock that you'll see later on the mantle. But if you look in here, you'll see that a lot of these items are not strictly Halloween. I have crystal rose bowls that I've collected over the years, and you're looking at a collection of items that I've collected over about 20 years. So bear that in mind that I have a lot of stuff to choose from. But when I was just starting out with my Halloween items, I had to learn to be creative about using things that I already had so that I wasn't going out and spending a bundle every Halloween. So the crystal rose bowls can be incorporated. They're a pretty elegant look, but I use them for Christmas and throughout the year. But if you put some colored lights or votives in them and sprinkle them in with some things like these scary trees that I got at Target. Some of these little books. This is actually a little gift box that I got at Dollar Tree, paid $1 for this year. And I got some smaller ones and actually stuffed them with candy and shredded paper and put them on top these skull plates that I got at Home Goods this year. So everybody was able to have a little party favor for about $1 plus candy at their place. So again, you can see that a lot of these items can be seasonal, like the pumpkins, and then you can use them again at Thanksgiving, fall decorations, but incorporating some things like these globes that I've collected over the years also at Home Goods. Back in the background there, that's a skeleton, a great purchase because they're so flexible. I think I have 4 or 5 skeletons, and this one this year is kind of a gargoyle. I found a mask for $10, and that was at Walmart, and plopped it on his head and just put him in the corner and propped his legs up. I think he's pretty spooky looking. Then again, I was talking about using fabric. I think you get a lot of bang for your buck with using fabric in your decor at Halloween. Back here, I decided to drape an entire wall this year. And if you went out and tried to just buy that much of a satin-looking fabric, it could run into a lot of money. But I found an online source for large tablecloths called the Tablecloths Factory. These tablecloths are probably, I think they're 156 inches long by 90 some inches wide. They're $10 a piece. I also use them, strangely enough, on my table. So I've got my little dog down there taking a nap. But this is, again, one of those extra long tablecloths, $10. And then I layered it with some chair wraps that were $2.99 at the Tablecloths Factory. And then a colorful tablecloth that I bought online. So you can see how much I do by layering fabric. I just think it gives it an overall much more lush, full feel. So I try and layer the fabric and find inexpensive sources. Another way in which I use fabric in my Halloween decorating is to use a lot of cheesecloth. This is cheesecloth that I bought and then just dipped in very strong coffee to dye it and wrung it out. And I use it hanging again from the archways as you go back in here into the living room area. Sorry for all the glare, but it's also hanging on, you can see the folds. It's hanging on the windows in here and helps give a spooky look. And I would suggest that if you're going to buy cheesecloth, you do it in bulk online rather than spending $10 or $15 here and there at a craft store. You can buy a lot of cheesecloth for about $50 and dye some of it, keep some of it white, and it will last you for years, and you can use it over and over again in different ways. Another way that I use fabric is to drape my fireplace. I have a sofa here that is normally just a gold color. You can see I have that turned back. That's the actual color of the sofa. But I have an old comforter that I wasn't using anymore and thought that would be fun and kind of dramatic for Halloween. So that's a way to mask some of your furniture and give it a different look. Of course, you can use old sheets. I have a throw here that has little silver spiders that was really inexpensive, but it makes a great table topper with a black fitted sheet that drapes nicely underneath. I've got more curtains over here. I'll back up a little bit so you can see. And I purchased a photo drop on Amazon that wasn't real expensive. And it is just thumbtacked to the wall. And I hung a curtain rod with a couple of nails. Hung some more of those curtains that I purchased on Facebook Marketplace. And in front of it, I have a coffin, a pine coffin that I actually sprung for. It wasn't real expensive, but a few years ago. And I have draped that with another one of my $10 tablecloths and some spiderweb tablecloths that I got at Dollar General for about $5 a piece a few years ago. And the nice thing about this is, let me show you a little trick here for storage. I have my skeleton propped up on plastic bins. So you've got a little extra storage underneath her. Her name is Gladys, not me. And so that gives you storage. You're using your tablecloths again. Very inexpensive, and a photo drop that I just roll up on the curtain rod and can use for years and years. The lid of the coffin, a little prop snake, and some candles. So you can see how much of this that I'm using is actually not solely for Halloween. These are tablecloths that can be used year-round at the holidays. And they also store really easily. And that's another factor. All this fabric is easy to store in some bins, doesn't take up a lot of space. Up here, I've come into what we call the morning room, MOURNING, this year for our spooky retirement home theme. And I did this room in a Day of the Dead theme. I hadn't necessarily planned to do this room in that theme, but I walked into Dollar Tree and saw all this wonderful Day of the Dead decoration. Lots of masks, skulls, these items that are just kind of on a string here that I hung over the side pieces on either side of my hutch. And I incorporated the things that I found at Dollar Tree with items that I already had. I already had these Day of the Dead skull salad plates that I bought at Home Goods, again, a couple of years ago. And I worked those in with the signs and also some flowers that I used for my Halloween party last year, which was a Grisly wedding theme. So I had a lot of silk flowers left over. Repurposed those on a wreath. Used some of them also for the centerpiece of the table. More of the skulls on the back wall. And then for the table setting itself, I've got some napkins that I found at, here's a better view of them. These were at Party City, and they worked great with my decor, so I bought some of those napkins and just used those pretty simply on the table, again layering with one of my smaller Tablecloths Factory polyester tablecloths that looks like satin, some more chair tiebacks, an overlay, some placemats that I found at a garage sale, and one of my favorite things that I found this year, these boxes that were also at Dollar Tree that I was able to, again, fill with shredded paper and candy and give everybody one at the party. Layered with the skull plate, another Home Goods purchase from years ago that I use regularly at Halloween. And then, this is so fun, a charger from Dollar Tree, $1 per charger. So for about $34, I was able to really add a lot of oomph to the room just from purchases from Dollar Tree. I also find that I can use items again and again if I'm versatile with them and just try and repurpose them. You can see these specimen jars up here. I've used them time after time in different ways and different places in the house. One of the things I've done is to change out the labeling. A few years ago, I did a more traditional look, labeling my specimen jars with just creepy ingredients. This year, at our retirement home, I suggested that people could be interred here. So some of our former residents are on the shelf in jars and urns. And I've labeled them, had fun with the names, Sayonara, I'm a goner, etc. The other thing I do pretty often is to take picture frames that I already have and print up some new pictures, or this was actually just a little decoration, a paper decoration that I backed and put in a picture frame. And when the holiday's over, you can switch them back out. I've got some saint candles there, lots of votives and colored lights. And then I kind of finish it off with decorating our chandelier with some really inexpensive Halloween garland. One of the other things that I like to use a lot, because you get a lot of bang for your buck, and they're lots of fun, are the skeletons. Up here I have a skeleton on top of the TV cabinet. I use these year after year and just do different vignettes with them. Here she is in an old bathrobe of mine with a witch hat, a wig, a broom, a cauldron that I've set up there, and a couple of rats that I splurged on from Grandin Road. And she's in the midst of her broom making up there. And that was a challenge to haul her up. She's attached to a chair with one hand while I was standing on an 8-foot ladder. So it does get to be a little exciting at times around here when I'm trying to do some of this stuff. But I have so much fun doing it. Again, these valances, more of the Dollar General tablecloths. If you look closely at them, they're spider webs, $5 a piece. And I've had them for years, able to reuse them. I use books a lot as well because I love the look of old books and I just keep those out year round. But there's something that incorporates really easily into a Halloween look. Again, a picture frame where I have a picture of a raven, another spooky hand, some little gargoyles, and a bell jar that I took a really inexpensive little dragon skeleton, but put some moss underneath it. And I love the way he looks. So you can see that I use a lot of items, again, that are not necessarily strictly Halloween, but they have an old look to them. And it helps to add to the creepy factor. Here is a candelabra on a big old silver tray with, again, another little skeleton mouse there. But that tray I purchased at a garage sale for probably less than $5. The fireplace is always lots of fun. I called it this year the Lobby of the Seven Skulls because I have 7 skulls attached to the fireplace. And the upper skulls, the eyes actually light up. I got those at the at-home store this year for about $10 a piece. But these smaller skulls are all from Family Dollar. I'm sorry, no, Dollar Tree. And I spray painted them white to match the fireplace and then dusted them with some talcum powder to give them a little bit more of a rough look. And they're attached with command strips. And again, there's another little piece of fabric there with a Home Sweet Haunted Home sign that I added this year. So you can have a lot of fun too with, I think, with humor for Halloween. So I like to name things, and this is the Fester and Rot Memorial Library, which is actually my craft room, office, etc. during the rest of the year. But at Halloween, it becomes the library. And this is where I set up my buffet tables for our party. This year, I just propped some things against the wall. I have a mirror hung there. And I didn't have the trays in the basket there. So people could it's a potluck. So people could drop their main dishes here as they came in the door. And then on the other wall, I have another table. And this was the dessert buffet. I have fun decorating the shelves. And I have lots of big pictures like these two here that I switch out the pictures inside and make them Halloween specific. Lots of opportunity there to put small things. And then we have an easel here next to one of my favorite props, just a spooky guy that I got at CVS a number of years ago. But this is our information center in the library, and I had a lot of fun. You can pause on this and read some of the detail there. We have Today at the Tombs, the internment services, etc. But the fun thing that's interesting about these tables, I've used the same idea where I stack a couple of storage bins, put a couple of pieces of wood on top, and those are my tables, but I also have a lot of storage under there. I put 2 bins on each end, and then there's storage in the middle as well. So that's it. You see more old silver here and lots of fun ideas. Hope you enjoyed this. Check us out.